There we go. We should be live. Is live the right expression?
Barely living.
Barely living. We should go on. Tell me about your daughter then. Go on.
Yeah.
Tell me about your children.
Yeah. Well, I think the last time we saw one of them was falling asleep when we were doing My Girl. It was. Do you know what I think back as well? I thought, oh no.
This is bourbon in case anyone's watching.
Yeah.
Go on.
Stage T.
Stage T. Yeah.
What we do on Corrie.
There you go, mate.
Unless
Good to see you, Johnny.
Unless you're having. Who was it? Curly Watts, was it?
Oh yeah, he liked
Yeah. I don't think he had tea on his, did he?
Well, I have to be careful because he's a friend of a friend of a friend. So.
That was the lovely guy.
Can't say anything. I can't say anything about anyone. So, before
Christmas.
Oh, cheers, man.
Magic.
Cheers. Oh, hey, that's all right. That.
It's lovely, isn't it?
So the idea was, we moved in here 1 month before lockdown. Okay, literally 4 weeks before lockdown. And
so if you think about that, you wouldn't have even known really that, because it was always on the cards there was going to be something in the air because of COVID.
Yeah.
But to know that there's suddenly going to be a lockdown, that was a kind of, I think it was about within a fortnight of rumours having a lockdown to it being a
lockdown. But well, it's absolutely bonkers because Karen had just started a new job, and part of the reason we moved because she was working in Manchester, but she was working in Wythenshawe.
Oh, right.
And to get where we live in Hoylake, to get there, sometimes she'd have a 2.5 hour commute.
Because you can get on a 53 quickly here, can't you?
Here you can. So we thought, well, blah, 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 blah. And then she got this job based in Salford.
Oh,
so it was even easier from here, bang straight across. That's by the by, we will come back to that. You got me digressing already. And the idea was when we moved in here with our Austin Powers room, so this is going to be a great studio. And along the way, I met other people like Darren, who painted our 4 foot wide front door.
Right.
Who's a muso. He's a painter and decorator. He used to work for Airbus, building wings and stuff. But he's a singer. He's a songwriter. He's a guitarist. He has bands. He's had bands for years playing in the area. And I was thinking, it would be great to talk to people like Darren.
Yeah.
Because, first of all, he's clever.
Yeah.
He's a nice guy. And he is a performer. The fact is, he's had to earn a living, which a great many performers have to do.
That is the common thing. I mean, the 1%ers, the people who are on the telly or the Spotify streamers or whatever, they make up such a little portion of
teeny weeny.
Yeah.
And then there are people like it, which is why I've started this with you. So a thing came to mind. It was that, which is also Beatles related. What have the Romans ever done for us? And that, well, apart from.
Yeah.
So, what have the Beatles ever done for us? Which is the link. Well, we wouldn't have that film without the Beatles because George Harrison paid for it.
Yeah, true.
So that
wouldn't have had Wood, Nail and I as well.
Wouldn't have had with exactly. Yes. And then also being from this part of the world, when I did a degree late in life, the dissertation was about fame and this area, and how I didn't know what drama school was. I didn't have a clue about anything like that, but I knew that I wanted to be a performer. I just knew it. I didn't know how to do it. Didn't know how to go about it. I was started late in life.
Yeah.
But I just knew. And I also knew that I could do it.
Yeah.
And so the whole dissertation point was, I believe there's something in the air, in this area, that makes us believe that we can do it.
Yeah, definitely.
And
I think
the hook being the Beatles.
What I was going to say, I think from, say, your point of view as well, I think being an actor, coming out of the Northwest, coming out of Merseyside, I think it's even more remarkable because we've had great actors here. We've had the Tom Bells of the world, and
met him, lovely guy.
Some really, really, and we've had a strong kind of acting fraternity with the Everyman and other places like that. But I think to decide, I'm going to be an actor. If you want to be in a band in Liverpool, you could trip over on a corner and find somebody who's in a band. If you want to be an actor, and what do you do there?
What do you do?
And you can imagine how. I mean, my dad played an instrument. I never knew this till I was about 15. He got made redundant, came home, and he's playing this guitar.
Yeah.
Because he was like, right, I'm going to buy myself a guitar.
Yeah.
I came home and I foolishly thought, oh, you can play like that in one day. He never even said no. Honestly, God, he's playing like Sweet Georgie Brown and doing these little things, and I was like, oh, Dad. I mean, I'd always wanted, back in the day, you'll know, denim brushes.
Yeah.
I had two older sisters, so I'd have denim brushes. My mum's couch would be threadbare because I'd be on the... So it was a drum. I wanted to play drums when I was... Well, I wanted to play guitar, all that, but that involved learning notes. Playing the drums just involved...
hitting something,
So, and there's a really interesting story on how I got my first drum kit, and it is really heartwarming, and I'll keep it to the grave. But it is really endearing, which shows the level of support you can get from your peers. My dad was always, get an education, we could express ourselves in that respect, but being in a band wasn't really, there was no career in that. He wouldn't have seen, if I would have said, even if I would have said, well, I'm going to go to music school, I'm going to learn theory, and I'd like to be a session musician or whatever, he'd think, job's going in Camel Laird, lad. It would be one of those kind of things. And that's of his generation. He was a promising footballer, but he had kids young and whatever, and he was fairly. He dedicated himself to. He was a maintenance fitter, so he kind of like got his engineering and all that kind of stuff. So it's a different generation, different outlook. And his dad would have said, get a proper job, this, that, whatever. So me starting, I basically. My mates had said, we're starting a band. And I went, right, okay, I'll be your drummer. Didn't have a drum kit.
Yeah.
but I just started sixth form, and a mutual friend of ours, Paul, had bought a drum kit, and I've been round to us a few times.
Yeah.
And he lived in a 3-bedroomed house in Old Swan.
Yeah.
With sprawling younger brothers crying all the time and all that. But he had this room where he had his drum kit. Out his mum Helen let him get away with making the noise, but she was a saint in that respect, like encouraging. So I was fascinated, and I was like, I've got to learn to play drums. I was always 6 months behind him until I started playing or getting into it, and then he just went like that, and I just stagnated because I was writing songs as well.
Yeah.
But that's how I wanted to get into music. I was about 16, 17, and I got my first school grant.
Oh wow, okay.
So it was like 150 a term. 75 went to me mum for me keep.
Yeah.
Because I was bringing money in.
Yeah.
And 75 went to me.
Wow.
And then I got me Christmas one. So I gave me mum the 75, kept the 75, and then she went, what do you want for Christmas? What was my Christmas present? And it wasn't like any money was going to be spent on, because 5 of us, so I wasn't going to be, I wanted. But I knew I wanted a drum kit. I had 75 quid myself.
Yeah.
And I saw an advert in the Echo, drum kit. It was mother of pearl, old jazz kit for 150 quid. And that was it. I went, Mum, I'd really like that. And I could, thinking about it now, that would have required my mum coming up with 75 quid. And even then I was like,
when
so
you're 16 or 17,
you're
a knobhead though, you don't know anything.
But I would have made it and I said like, well, you know what, I'll pay you back like 1 pence a week for 10 years, I was obsessed with it because I'd always wanted to play drums. I had Quality Street tins I'd made myself. I put quickie bags on, when there was a quick sale, quickie bags, sellotape them, had screwdrivers that I'd be hitting drums with. So I had my own little, I'd made my own little crappy kit.
Yeah.
that I just used to lay on the bed and practice. So she knew that I was...
The desire was there.
The desire was there. It was just honestly, it's like, you want a new dog. Oh, I'll pet it every day. Well, this one, I fucking would pet it every day.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be like one of those Christmas dogs that suddenly, you haven't took the dog for a walk.
Yeah. Oh, do I have to?
I would look after this kid. It would be my obsession. So, so she'd already spent the money that I give her for me keep.
Yeah.
So she pawned her rings.
Oh, Jesus.
And gave me the money, and me and my sister made our way to an address in Egbert. Now, Egbert, from living in Walton to going to Egbert, that was like, you had to change money.
Yeah.
I didn't know where I was going.
Yeah.
Didn't even know what bus I was meant to get, but I just found a way to this fella's. I was asking people, what bus goes to... I could have just stayed on the 60 bus all the way to Egbert Vale because he lived opposite there, but I didn't.
But you didn't know. No.
Got there, didn't have any means to bring the kit back.
I was going to say, how were you going to get it
down? But the fella took pity on me and offered me a lift and gave me the kit back, brought me back
with the kit,
with the kit, and that was it. I was away, and it coincided with my auntie. I just had a refurb on her house, like my great auntie, and she had an heirloom piano in the house. So it got donated to us, and I was like,
I want that now.
That as well. I can write songs. I've got songs in the head. I was writing poems when I was a kid. And all that kind of stuff. But I've got melodies. I'd be able to, because you can't do a melody on
a drum kit.
On a drum kit.
No.
Unless you're really super creative. So that was it. Piano as well. So I was just totally, and I'd done the little hibernation period of like a year, 18 months where I wouldn't come out the house. I'd just try and learn. I taught myself, I'm not the best teacher, so I probably just got to a acceptable standard.
Listen, just people say, I taught myself. It's not that easy to just teach yourself.
Well, it's
just
not.
Buy a keyboard. It's not that easy, mate. If you can do it, it's
also,
amazing.
Yeah, it takes a couple of, you can't, I don't think you could teach yourself on your own. I also had a mate, I don't know whether you remember him, Des, who was,
Well, I'll tell you a story about Des and why I remember him.
He was a decent piano player, and he was in my class in school, and Paul was in a different class. And so we'd always say, I'll show you how to play Green Onions, or I'll show you how to play Lady Madonna.
Wow.
So you get these little tips, because he was a bit more advanced than me. Paul was a bit more advanced than me, and he'd go, this is how you do like offbeats, or this. Listen to this little thingy where Neil Peart, because he was a big Rush fan.
Yeah.
Neil Peart, and it was like, learning 16ths, learning stuff like that. I wouldn't have done that on my own.
No.
It was people like that who kind of influence you or put you on that way to understand the instrument, or to better yourself. And you're hanging out with them, and either being in a band with them, or you just generally they're your mates. And I've done it myself with people who've like me nephew. He started learning the piano, and he's great at it, but I'd be like, I'll show you.
Yeah.
And then he'd go, what's that? because it's like, he'd be learning like new songs, and I'd be teaching him 70
real songs.
So that got me into it, but it was songwriting. I learned to play an instrument, not to be able to play it, but to get to write songs that I had in my head.
Yeah.
And I fell into playing keyboard in bands, either out of a certain necessity, or I genuinely wanted to push myself in learning, stuff to play, like, the soul stuff and blues stuff that I've been in. So that was my avenue. Learning the instrument was down to, well, there's no other way to get these songs that I've got out unless I can put a melody to them myself.
So where do you think it came from? You see, this is my theory about it. As I've said to you, I think there's just something in the air.
It's in the ether. It is.
If you go before the Beatles, because the Beatles are just the biggest band in the world ever, best band in the world ever, blah, 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 blah.
I think there's no argument to that, and I'm not being biased. I think,
They did.
Elvis may be the best entertainer.
Sure.
Something like that. You could argue that, a case for that. I think people in Memphis might go, well, Elvis is the biggest thing ever. I think, well, I'm not going to argue with it. I think the Beatles are the best band in the world. So it's that kind of thing. I think these things that you cannot argue about.
Yeah. They did it first. Whatever you said, no, they did it. Oh, heavy metal, no, they did it first. Oh, jazz, no, they did it first. Oh, no, they did it first.
Yeah.
And that was because of the influences. There's a Billy Fury statue at the docks before the Beatles. Frankie Vaughan.
You think about Frankie Vaughan, and he was a heartthrob as well. Was it Give Me the Moonlight?
Yeah, Give Me the Moonlight. Go before them.
See, I have a different kind of meaning when I say Frankie Vaughan. Mine's a film reference for Frankie Vaughan.
No,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
before that, and all right, Old Mother Cranky.
No. All I think of is Jeanette Cranky when I think of that.
But way back, Old Mother Cranky was this bloke in a frock. Okay, you late 30s black and white films doing screwball comedy, for want of a better phrase.
Yeah.
Okay, local boy.
Right.
Oh yes, in fact, the house my ex and the first house that we moved in together was his house.
Whoa.
Yeah, so we just found that by accident. Now these people go, but Jimmy Clitheroe, and you before that you've got help me out here, Arthur Askey. These are major stars, entertainers. And they're just from here. This is before there were drama schools. This is before there was anything.
Rex Harrison.
Sir Rex Harrison from Huyton. Yeah.
Huyton. I mean, you couldn't get any more kind of...
Do you know where he started? Brushing the stage at the Playhouse Theatre.
Yeah.
Wanted to be in the theatre, so we went, there was a job as a stagehand, brushing up, and okay. And that's what happened then with Rep. You started there, then you did a bit of assistant stage managing, then you did stage managing, then you got a small part.
That doesn't happen now. Well,
no, it doesn't.
I'm saying it doesn't happen now. I know from the likes of, say, actors like, say, Michael Caine.
Yeah.
He's done his Rep and all
that.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people think he's a one-trick pony, and I must admit, I prefer his performances where he is a Cockney.
Yeah.
But the one thing I'll say is, there's nothing he doesn't know about acting. You know, that he couldn't... Well, he done that masterclass in the 80s, didn't he? Where he used to tell you how to film it.
I remember that.
And it's brilliant. Celia Imrie
was going... This thing about the love scene, should we go out to dinner the night before? And he says, no, don't do that, because you'll end up having the love scene before the cameras are rolling. He's obviously been there. Yeah, so, you had the ability to do rep and build, and that's all gone.
Mm.
But then again, you say, okay, so where does the likes of Stephen Graham come from? Now, Stephen Graham, famously dyslexic, has to have his wife read the scripts to him, so he learns it that way. Brilliant actor, international star, best mates with Scorsese, De Niro, all the rest of them.
Yeah.
They if there's a documentary about the making of The Irishman, with Scorsese and all the other big-name leading actors sitting around the table. And
his role was a great role in that as well.
And they say, and do you remember when Stephen did this and Stephen did that? Yeah. This guy's a major player.
Definitely.
Now, luckily, in my opinion, this is where for some people it works, and this is not a complaint, this is just life. He had a teacher who put him into a drama situation.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't have any of that.
No.
Nothing. Absolutely zero. Now, having that, it also helps if you've got talent like he has.
Oh, yeah.
Let's just, let's take nothing away from the guy.
Yeah.
If you have a teacher who will go, listen, son, just go there and do that, that puts you rungs up the ladder.
I think if amongst people who are prepared to acknowledge that, because you could have, you know, you could have a parent who they're not even gonna be bothered about how talented you are. It wouldn't even hit their register, because they don't even look at those things. They don't even look at the art as being something that's viable or worth pursuing, or there's any kind of noble kind of career out of it. So if you've got that kind, if you're living in that kind of environment, your back is totally against the wall, where you're not even going to get support or encouragement.
Yeah.
Now that might work the other way, where you think, well, all right then,
balls to this, I'm doing
this,
it.
in spite of this, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of people do, and it feeds that. But there's also other people, and I know what the art is like. For me, a large part of it has been a confidence game, where if you're in an environment where there are people who support you, and I'm not saying people should blow smoke up your arse totally, but if they recognise your self-belief and believe the same way, then that enables you to be able to give the best of your performance.
Yep.
But if you're going to get people going, go on then, that, you know.
Yeah, I'm a comedian, tell me a joke.
Yeah. Do you know, it's...
I want to skip off this track now I've said that.
Yeah.
Go back to, oh Christ man, it's a long time ago, and we were gigging in Blackpool, and I think it was if you remember, there was a Lily Savage TV show.
Lily, the Lighthouse. Yeah.
Okay, so we're gigging in this place, and they get some decent acts on there because it's a big venue and well known.
Because Lily's Friday night thing, it was filmed there, wasn't it?
Yeah. And you bastard, saw the comedian. They hired a comedian who'd been on the cruise ship, so the Kiwi 2, I think.
Yeah.
And he was going to come out and tell jokes. Only it transpired that the man didn't have a gag up his sleeve at all. What he did was, he would entertain, so he was an entertainer.
Yeah.
And on the cruise ships, and people are up for it, whoa, and they're all drinking and everyone's happy, he would just make comments and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
When he came on and died on his arse, you were at the back of the auditorium, pissing yourself laughing.
Yeah, I'm sure Mark was with me as well. It would have been our kind of thing.
Guffawing with laughter because the guy was not funny.
Yeah, I think that's even funnier though. I've seen a comedian die before now, and I've found it even funnier than good comedians, because it's just it's equally as entertaining, if not more.
And I remember the compere coming on and introducing the next act. And they were a bit lukewarm, and he said, come on, applaud or I'll bring the comedian back on. Terrible places.
And I'm sure that's happened a few times. There used to be a comedian who used to come on when we played in... where did we play? Was it Scarborough or... one of those places?
One of the big Butlins or something.
One of the big Bognor Regis or something. And he was half decent. But you know, because you're doing a summer season and you go the second time, you're like, oh yeah.
It's the same gag.
It's the same gag.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh.
Well, it's different. You play the same song.
Yeah.
Different.
Yeah.
Because even if somebody's heard it before, they'll like it.
I know for a fact we could start like a summer season in, say, late April, June, or May or whatever. Now I know, especially with the likes of, say, Mark, Jim, and even myself, when it came to mixing things up, if it came to a solo, you
could widdly.
We'd do something, and it might have been a kind of in joke at the time, might have been an advert or something that was on. So you try and replicate something, or you do something, or you try and make somebody recognise what you were playing, because you do it in the key of, like, I Feel Good was always one for the likes of me, or the Mustang Sally kind of, are you going to go my way kind of thing that we used to do. And I remember trying to fit as many different tunes into that as possible, and I've still got a cassette recording of it as well.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, that's okay, I've done that. Oh, Christ, okay, I'd never be able to play that again. No. But I remember Mark used to always do it, and then he'd go into the Flintstones with this like weird effects pedal. But you do. So you never get the same show twice.
No.
You know.
Do something to
mix it up.
To mix it up.
Yeah.
I think from my point of view, fronting it all.
I don't know how you do it, you know.
Well, that was the gig.
But you did it so well, and the one thing I would like to say, ladies and gentlemen, is in my experience, and I will always say this, is that we could have done, like in the Blues Brothers when he went into that, the place where they're doing like, the rawhide or whatever.
Behind the
we could have
wire
went into the most partisan place ever, where they're like, "Come on, man, what are you fucking gonna play for us?" And obviously, you're well spoken for someone who comes from around it, because you've learnt the elocution. But you'd be like, "Hello, everybody," blah 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 blah. I know by the end of that gig, well, not even by the end of that gig, by the end of the first hour, because you used to do 2 for you'd have them in the palm of your hand. And I was like, these are certain things, because I would not have either the patience or the balls to jump into the lion's den and to mix it with the punters. I was quite happy being a keyboard player, and I know I spoke earlier before this started about doing solo gigs. Something. I love being part of a band. I like. I mean, don't get me wrong. I write and I sing stuff, but I'd still have to do that as part of a band, which I have done. But how you were able to do that, to turn something that potentially looked tense. Only because it's like, you'll get crowds that are like, nothing fucking sexy, right? There's nothing fucking next. Play some fucking soul then. And we'd smash it. I know it was a superb band. And I was really grateful for the time that I spent in it, because they're great players. But to be able to turn a crowd round, I've never ever witnessed that. And most people don't have to do that, because... And this is the thing about doing it at a certain level that we were doing it. We were unknowns. On the circuit and within that industry, amongst agents and bookers, we elevated to a spot where we had a reputation and started to get really prestige gigs.
We actually earned a lot of money for a while.
It was a great way. So I know that kind of thing happens, but to punters, they don't know you from Adam.
No.
You do have to prove yourself. That's a skill in itself. That's not just being able to sing. Obviously the acting background has to be an advantage and has to help. And at one point, if I can just finish, at one point...
Certainly, sir. I'll take all the compliments you want to throw at me.
No, there was not one point at which you had to resort to, "You do know I've been in Les Mis, don't you?" We just got that backstage instead. You never had to say that to them. You just charm them with the soul.
Well, it's very odd. It's that thing I was saying about... It's not a cockiness. It's not a confidence thing.
Self-belief.
It was a self-belief. I knew that where I was supposed to be was where I was.
And it was the perfect fit. I think I know Steve Pete was there before me, and he done well in the band. But I think it kind of helped. My integration was that I was best mates with Mark at the time. I was good mates with Mark at the time. He kind of, for me, I'd known Paul since we were like 11. And I'd known James since, so the whole rhythm section thing, I knew the lads personally.
So it wasn't difficult for you.
So it wasn't like, I knew it'd be I mean, I wouldn't speak up anyway, because I felt that, I wasn't even entitled to be in the band sometimes, because I kind of got there by fluke. Now it would be a different kind of matter, because I probably would say to Paul, don't be a cunt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because let's face it, every single one of us at some point or other can be the biggest arsehole.
Oh, yeah, and if Paul's going to see it was your band in that respect, you know what I mean? And,
it was his band. He started the band and he ran the band.
He ruled it. Really efficiently. It was fun. It showed your professionalism. But, you know, he was a single guy and some of us had partners and kids.
And it wasn't. And life gets in the way, doesn't it?
In the way.
And also, I think a lot of us, I think the majority of us were in there thinking, well, 3, 6, 12 months and then I'll have another gig and I'll go and I'll be famous and I'll be here and I'll be there and I'll be doing this.
And how long it went, I mean, it could have gone even.
Well, if we'd done it, professionalism is the word, because I used to say at nearly every gig, you have to be professional. Yeah. If you're going to do cabaret, be the best cabaret artist you can possibly be.
And I do think that was, as the kids call it, I do think we smashed that element, because we looked at image and other things that go with the cabaret that I didn't feel they were particularly important compared to the music, because obviously the music's got to be good, but they definitely go a long way. If you are a cabaret act, like we come out like that Quentin Tarantino thingy in the first, come out like all the commitments, you know, with
the suits and the tie and shit.
And then the second half it'd be totally entertainment. I have still, I should have brought it. I have still got my sexy Mexican Caballero jacket thingy and yellow flowery shirt. I've still got it. I haven't got my sombrero.
Well, Paul's got all the hats that Mark Noonan actually sent.
They were heavy.
They were heavy. I think they were display more than anything.
Yeah, definitely. You only have to for one song, couldn't we?
Yeah, and put him down. Just big and heavy.
I reckon that's how I lost my hair.
I'm me the same. Yeah, obviously.
I think we should sue that place in Southport where we got them.
Or sue Paul. It was his band.
Funny how he kept his hair.
Because he never wore it, did he?
No.
He always had it around his neck.
And Mark, for that matter, as well.
Yeah, it was definitely a time. It was hard graft. I enjoyed it a great deal of it. Sometimes I really hated it. I remember saying to Paul one night, at some gig or other, we'll get to that, but I said, what the hell am I doing here? I was at that point of my life was falling apart. What the hell am I doing here? And he said, you're earning a living.
With Sue. But you were a vital part of that band. I remember there was a gig that you couldn't make. And there was a guy who turned up, his name was Graham. Oh,
Graham to stand in for us. He
had a voice like Otis Redding. He was an amazing singer. I couldn't. None of us could. You couldn't be in a room, and he wasn't a front man.
Yeah.
He was not a front man.
Yeah.
And it was just, you know, these certain things, and I've always professed to this. I think there are absolutely tons and tons of elite performers and everything, and this is not taking anything away from this is not like a backward compliment or anything like that, because you can sing and you had the chops and you could always do it, but I think you have to have a compatibility amongst your band, because I would settle for being in a band of people who I could totally depend on, get on with, because if you think about it, we spent 24/7 in the back of a van.
God.
Well, you were always driving them. You know, so you've got to be able to get on with people. So I think it's not just about talent. Well, it wasn't just about talent for us. It was also about being compatible. It's done tours with people who
were not compatible,
and it's really been tough.
It's really hard. I've done things which I haven't liked.
Yeah.
I jokingly, I'm going to put that microphone a little nearer to you. I jokingly say, "Oh well, I dressed as a rat for equity minimum," and I did. You know, it was a gig. It was a panto, couple of weeks, kids thing. I was king rat, but it paid the wages. Thank you very much. And I'm probably not on my spotlight CV at all.
Something in here that will add to your story. In fact, I'll let you carry on, and if it's there, it's a note that I got from the last time I toured with a band, and it was an invoice for work. I hope this is it. Oh, no, it's not. But
You'll find it.
Sorry,
it's all right. But the people in the gig were great. It was a really nice group of people, and you have to have a nice group of people. Now, as I've told you, I've just accepted this thing today.
Yeah.
On the Polar Express train ride, but it's a full equity contract.
Yeah.
In fact, it's more than equity minimum. They're paying well. Yeah. It's a block booking, so that's nice because I get a big lump of money. They've gone through my agent, so I'll lose a third of it, but gone through my agent, so it's a proper professional thing, and it's a Warner Brothers contract. You know, it's a pucker thing. But the two big things that swayed it for me was my agent said that an old pal of mine, Daniel Coll, is doing it.
Yeah.
And Danny's been around the block for years, taught me a lot way back then. Directed me and Julius Caesar, darling, in the open air at Castlefields in Manchester. We had a 4-piece from the Halle Orchestra. We had 4 members of the Halle playing in the back. Oh, this was massive open air thing. Thousands of people turned up. Danny's got his own travel channel going on. He's done a ton of stuff this year. Well, if it's good enough for Danny, it's good enough for me. You know, exactly. It's that simple. But the big thing that came back from that was Danny says the team are fabulous. Well, I met them today on Zoom at that desk there on the computer. Couldn't be nicer. They were the nicest of people. And they're making sure that we're getting fed, which they don't have to do.
No.
You can, provide your own food. No, we'll make sure you get breakfast, dinner and tea, they said. Lovely. And that kind of stuff goes a long way.
Definitely, I think so.
Performing can be really, really hard. There are times when it can be beautifully simple. The easiest thing in the world. When I'm in the throes and in the midst of it, I compartmentalise myself. I am whatever that person is. I am that person. Yeah. I am doing it. It's just the way my brain works. And the world can change.
Yeah.
But at that moment, I am that thing. In fact, when we were doing Julius Caesar in the open air at Castlefields in Manchester all those years ago, and I've tried to find it in the Manchester Evening News. They did a 4-page full colour pull-out spread of this thing. Photographs is amazing. My very expensive car that I bought was parked on the road.
Wasn't a TR7, was it?
No, it wasn't the TR7. It was a Ford Granada.
Yeah.
Was hit by a bus.
Whoa.
Fine, you think, okay. Turns out the bus wasn't insured, so it cost me money. However, the company had gone bankrupt on the Friday.
The bus wasn't insured.
This is years ago. The company went bankrupt on the Friday and started trading again on the Monday as a different entity, but they worked all that weekend. And this was a Sunday night, and my car got hit.
Couldn't you do like a civil?
Oh, the police didn't want to know. But that was by the by. But a mate of mine, David Fawcett, who was in Les Mis with me at the time.
Oh, why are you in Les Mis?
This was... Have I mentioned I was in Les Mis for a couple of years?
It's a funny thing about Cameron, isn't it?
Oh. And David said, yeah, I saw the bus hit your car. I said, well, why the fuck didn't you tell me? Yeah. He said, you had a sword in your hand at the time. And he knows that I'd have gone full tilt because I I was a Roman soldier at the time with a sword in my hand. I wasn't. I'd have gone.
would have went Stanislavski.
Oh, it would have, the whole thing would have happened.
Oh, man.
So, performing, be it acting, singing, mime, or whatever it may be, whatever you're doing, is really, if you get it right, nothing else in the world exists.
Yeah.
And again, I think I'm pulling it back to this area. I think a lot of people here, partly why the Beatles reference, because they lifted the bar so high. If you go anywhere else in the world, and you are from Liverpool City Region, I hate the term Merseyside, Liverpool City Region.
Yeah.
People expect you to be of a minimum standard.
Do you know what? And I do think you're right. I don't think you can trade on just coming from Liverpool. And it's weird as well. And it's a double-edged, I think.
Yes, it is a double-edged sword.
Yeah, because, and I've done that, and we've been not so much marketed like in the past when I've been I was in a blues band recently, and we went abroad, and there was from Liverpool, but it wasn't like a major thing. But there is definitely an expectancy of being able to deliver a certain standard. Now, luckily, the band, at what they did, were exceptionally good, really, really good. So that kind of put pay to that. But also, what I found when if you go outside of the UK, it's great. Within the UK, I think is a different thing. I've done a gig in Cleethorpes, believe it or not.
Why not?
And it was like a really nice jazz place. They had some great players on that day, and then later on they had us. No, but I mean,
that was a good gag.
But
pass your gloves.
Oh God.
Come on, hey, it's nearly Christmas, is it?
Yeah, well, it is quite nearly. But all's me and the bass player could hear in the background, or no, everyone could hear it, but me and the bass player in particular, because we were quite close together, were really aggrieved by it, thinking, did you hear that? It was like, fucking bin zippers.
Nice.
Honestly, God,
nice.
From one person in particular, and I thought, we were headlining that gig.
Yeah.
He's paid, it was 20 quid, because it was like a day event. He's paid 20 quid just to give us shit.
Yeah.
And it took, I it's not like I'd do a drummer out of the Commitments and just suddenly get off the stage and we didn't even know who it was. It was just like...
It was just a voice in the
background. But I thought, are you messing? We're not even a comedy act. They're playing. And they were bona fide play, you know what I mean? Really playing for real blues fans.
Yeah,
mean, the two guys whose setup it was, the guitarist, Will, and Johny, the singer, they were obsessed with... I can't even remember the fellow's name. I know his real name.
Oh, you need to take a drink, mate. It'll help.
But he's the greatest. Muddy Waters.
Muddy Waters, okay, fine.
Yeah. So they're Muddy Waters.
Nuts, yeah.
It's the thingy. The likes of him, Lightning Hopkins, proper
blues.
They knew what, it wasn't like, like Stevie Ray Vaughan. Don't get me wrong, Stevie Ray Vaughan's fantastic.
Astonishing. But
he wasn't the blues pioneer. Do you know, in that respect. They were, fathers and sons, these guys were obsessed with that album. They said, we're going to play as if it's going to be...
This is ours.
We're going to live, that's our vibe. So we weren't doing things by halves. It was like full in, deep dive into the blues. But we're white, you know what I mean? And, it was as authentic as we could possibly get it.
Yeah.
So we were thinking, well, you know, what's this about bin tippers? Just because they know we're from Liverpool. And none of us had criminal records, but that wouldn't have mattered. You know, and we're there to entertain. I wouldn't, you know.
I drove, I really won't bore you with the details, but I drove a Dutch girl, I'll call her, because she was only young.
She was a Dutch bitch.
Thank you.
So that's me telling Clive reference. Sorry.
Just around the south of England for clothing venues. She was representing a clothing manufacturer from Paris, and I was doing a favour. I'd asked if I'd drive around, and we were going to these places in the south of England. Some of them would be small villages. I would just sit outside, let her go in and do her hour's worth of spiel, whatever she was doing. And she'd explain, and she'd say, a friend of a friend from Liverpool, and he's driving me. Oh, this is what she said so often. How can you understand him? Seriously. How can you understand him? I mean, first of all, my accent wasn't the strongest anyway.
Yeah, but I think even
does it matter?
So, I mean, I don't think my accent's the strongest, but and I'm from Walton, and I've spoken to somebody who's from Walton going, goes in and out your accent, and I'm like, does it? I've lived there all my life, you know what I mean? It's probably because I went to a grammar school.
Oh, it's posh, but
went with, yes, with a couple of South Enders.
Yes.
But at least I've never ever said the word no. But you get it over this side, don't you?
No.
I'm gonna go. And you're like, oh, I know where you're from, mate. You're from the Fez. You're from Rocheferret.
Rocheferret.
Well, yeah, it's because I mean, Scandinavian accents or like so that I think they're fairly similar.
Yeah. You can hear a couple of Scousers thickly voiced. I was going to say thick Scousers, but I didn't mean that comes across the wrong way.
I couldn't imagine anyone not knowing what yours, not understanding.
Well,
your diction's perfect, darling.
Thank you, darling. But it's the context of the separation. Again, I come back to the whole thing about being a Scouser or whatever you want to classify yourself as. We're different since it, and I've done just partly through my degree and partly through the whole.
Did you know that you
thing.
inspired me to do mine?
No.
Because remember I done a survey for you.
Yeah.
And I ended up having to do a survey myself. But in late 2020, the lockdown was still kind of...
Yeah.
It was peacing out and all that. And I know you'd done yours again. I was thinking... I was at a point where I was like...
I need to do something.
Yeah, because the blues band had folded because of Brexit and COVID and that.
Yeah.
I was like, I need to do something. And I saw an ad for SAE, which is School of Audio Engineering in Pall Mall, Liverpool. And I applied and got in. And I was like, can I afford to? I just went for it. I'm 20. I graduated in January this year.
Fantastic. So, fantastic.
But that was that because I thought, and I went, no, remember, Matt, he's done this. So I owe you for a little bit of inspiration.
Well, I'll take that. Thank you very much indeed.
Because and it was no easy, right? It's as you know what I mean. It's like
you think it is, but it isn't.
Yeah, you think it's going to be okay, and because you try and choose something that you're really keen on, and I was keen on audio, well, music primarily, but it's weird because it kind of shifted my attention towards what audio can be about. Music is, it's oversaturated. The music industry's probably changed that it's almost unrecognisable at a time when we had considered making a career in it. So I wanted to look at different avenues of audio and stuff. But to embark on education in my 50s, I would not have really considered it, only knowing firsthand that somebody who knew had done it themselves. and I thought, well, yeah, it isn't too old. It isn't too old.
It isn't. Well, I'm going to come back to my point a bit later, but because I wanted to make it. But I think you can, and I think sometimes when you're 50, in your 50s, is the time to do it, because if you go back to the and I know you're a bit younger than me. I'm not saying how younger, but you're a bit younger than me.
Only a couple of days.
But if you go back to then, first of all, I was thick anyway, and school just didn't exist. But I couldn't go to university because I couldn't afford to go to university.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So, 16, my mum says, you've got to get a job now.
Same, yeah.
And that's just life. That's not a complaint.
That was the ethics of that household at the time.
Just life. So the thought of going to university is astonishing.
It would have been indulgent.
To say the very least. Yeah, yeah. Well, impossible.
I mean, unless you were like a savant or something.
Yeah.
I mean, my dad would have loved me, but having to have gone when I was younger.
Yeah.
But loads of my mates from school who went on to do degrees at the time straight from school, I think there's only about 2 of them who work in the profession that they studied in. So I was like, it didn't really sell it to me that much. But to be honest, I'd done this degree more as a kind of personal growth thing to find me. But just to see if I could, because it was always something that was nagging at me to think, I'd love to get a degree.
Am I capable? Am I
capable? Can I? And I wanted something where I knew I had to turn up and I had to really kind of be present. Yeah. And you do, and also not be lazy in the way that, because I know what I'm like. I need to be really I need to find something to be urgent to be able to do it. So I was like, well, in this case, you can't work on that. You can't just like do an all-nighter and it'll be okay. You've got to stagger it.
You're not 22, you can't do that.
Yeah. And that had been my school. I mean, I went to a half-decent school, past me 11 plus, as they call it. But as soon as I got into like fourth year seniors, I don't know what year they call it now, 4th or 5th.
Wouldn't have a clue, mate.
My interest had just totally gone out of education. Yeah. I was into music. I was, so, trying to kind of study or write or do something that was, peer reviewed or something that could be held up to scrutiny, or trying to come up with a new kind of
a nuance on something that hadn't been picked up on.
I was like,
and Karen used to, my missus says, I say this many times, I've only met one person cleverer than my missus, and he's a bona fide genius, and he was the dean of the University of Chester. Very, very clever woman. But one of the things she said to me was, the thing about doing a degree, it doesn't necessarily matter what your degree is in, whether you get a job in that field or not.
Yeah, exactly.
An employer, if you're looking for employment, is looking to see that you are able to settle down and concentrate and work long enough to get the outcome.
I think that's the thing that I'm open to trade on with this, because the chances of me embarking on a career as an audio engineer now, I could do it for myself, which I do.
Yeah.
I get bits and bobs of work doing that. But to actually walk into Sony Music, I've got me to get. Never gonna happen. Wouldn't happen. Wouldn't even happen anyway, even if you were a young graduate.
No, but I think what we really, and we don't understand this, but if you are a performer, and I use the term loosely, performer, but an actor, juggler, whatever. If you are a performer and in that bracket, you are ostensibly an entrepreneur. You are ostensibly a self-employed person.
You are, and I find that that's the thing that I really, really struggle with. I find, and we were told this when I was doing my degree. were told about your worth, and I've got self-belief, but how do you charge for a job, or you know? And I'm like, oh, I think that I don't know what that comes down to. It's maybe the self-taught aspect of me thinking, well, you know, and because a lot of the time when I've embarked on stuff, it's been through a mutual friend, so I've never really kind of jumped into something
all by yourself,
where there's people who I don't know, you know. So maybe there's that kind of thing, but it's true, you do have to be an entrepreneur. I believe that.
You do.
Yeah, and there's nothing bad about that.
No,
because,
not at all.
You know,
but you're better off relying upon yourself.
I would love to be able to do it for free. If I won the lottery, yeah, great. I'd be like Elton John and sell the records for nothing.
I mentioned to you earlier Daniel Cole, professional name, Danny, hugely experienced actor, then eventually does his master's degree in filmmaking, now has a film company that he and his friend, who is an Irish guy, a gypsy, who won Big Brother a handful of years ago. The Bezzy mates, because well, strangely, Danny's from Sheffield way, not from round here at all.
The person I knew who won Big Brother was Brian someone. But
I know nothing, mate, nothing. But he's got Irish history, as of a lot of us in this neck of the woods.
Yeah.
Got that grandparents who came over on the boat. And he has taken that and has built another section of his profession. He's realised, you know, well, I have to do panto this year to make the money this end. But, oh, look, I'm in the Crown. I'm in the Crown this week, which he was, you know.
Yeah.
He's got stuff like that going on. You have to cover all bases.
Oh, without a doubt.
But he can make his own stuff now because he knows how to make his own stuff. He's done the degree. He knows how to light it, how to set it up, how to fund it, what it's going to cost. It's not guesswork anymore.
Yeah.
He knows how to do it. Now, he took time out to do that as an older gentleman, shall we say. Didn't go to school when he was 19, you know, went later on. And I think when you do this kind of thing, be it for a living or a hobby or whatever, you kind of do things arse about face.
Yeah, I mean, I think by virtue of being a self-taught musician, I know I've done things arse about face. In fact, I was even contemplating doing going to some piano lessons.
Yeah.
Just to be able to sight read, or just to get a bit more of a theoretical understanding.
Yeah.
Because if I'm doing it all by ear or by instinct, it has served me well, and sometimes it's got me the gig because I'm the guy who can jam with people. Yes. Whereas a trained musician may not be able to. I'm not saying all trained.
No.
You know what I mean? I'm probably talking up my arse.
No, you're not. Actually.
But I know that it has. I've had. Well, one thing that I know is that both my daughters have had formal piano lessons. One of them's exceptionally good, and the other one is also really strong on it. Now, I don't think either of them, and they wouldn't mind me saying this because I think they'd agree, I don't think either of them would be able to jam with a band, or would feel comfortable
doing so. Yeah.
You know, they're both songwriters in their own right as well, so they both have the skill of being creative. But they probably wouldn't be confident about doing that, and I think that's one advantage that I've had from being self-taught, because it's kind of, I don't even know what the rules are.
Yeah, and I think that's a really big thing, you see. I think that with McCartney, for example, he doesn't know what the rules are, except, guess what, mate? You made a lot of the rules up that people are following now. Yeah. You just decided it was innate in you. You could do it.
Well, I'll tell you one great rule that I think he's done that people mightn't even get onto. I don't know whether they probably do. If you're a Beatles fan, you well would have. If you can't think of a word to rhyme with something, just make a surname up.
Just
fucking great. That's genius, that.
Yeah.
You know, because it'd be like, blah, blah, blah. I mean, the words that he's used, like, from a man named Leah, you know, things like that. But I think that's a great tool, that. If you want to rhyme a word with orange, just make a person's surname up that as, you know. I was walking down and my car was orange. I just walked down when the car's orange, I don't know. Maybe it does when you've got or I was driving in my car and it was orange, and then I saw Mrs. Forange. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but
you can do that.
But you can do that.
That comes with creativity. Someone like that, I'm not saying he's the only innovator, but he's the only one that I know of.
Yeah.
That's the music I listen to. So there's things like that, and rule breakers, you know what I mean? And he's
completely rule breaking and not
disruptors. That's what they call them.
Oh, that's very posh, mate. Very disruptors. Wish I was a disruptor.
Yeah.
It's nice to think that there are people who can do that the rest of us can grab hold of a shirt tail and go along for the ride, you know. There are people out there. I'm going to mention a guy now who was a very close friend of mine, and I fell out with many moons ago. I may bother explaining why, I may not, but I think you know him as well. Do you know a guy called John Riley? He was from Walton, lives in Sheffield.
Yeah, he's a musician, isn't he?
Yes.
No, it's not John C. Riley. John Riley, yeah.
John Riley.
Still
He's a.
I didn't know he's from Walton. I knew he was from...
He's from Walton originally.
I actually follow him on social media.
Well, there you go. Now, he, annoyingly, mate, is one of those really naturally talented people who just did stuff. He's done
some good work, isn't
he? He was writing poetry when he was a kid. If I'd mentioned the word poetry in my school, I'd have been beaten up. But so he was writing poetry, and then we met when we were, I think we were both about 18, 19, something like that, 17, 18, 19. We worked in John Lewis together, in George Henry Lee. And
he bought me a uniform off you.
He possibly may have done.
Man, no, you wouldn't have been working there when you were like 12, would you? Because I went in when I was...
Oh, yeah, no, fair enough. But he is a stupendously talented man. I don't talk to him because we fell out over personals, but now if anyone should be famous,
he should be.
He should be famous.
He is on a certain level of... I could imagine that's his full-time income.
It has been for a long time.
I've been in a position where it has been my full-time income.
Yeah.
But
as a member of a band,
yeah. Not
Johny Wishart, singer-songwriter, blah blah blah.
Jesus, yeah. Well, the thing is, I would feel uncomfortable about selling what I wrote.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. I wouldn't, because I think, no. I used to hate it when I was in an original band.
Yeah.
And we had to sell tickets for it. I'd be like,
I can't do this.
I can't sell tickets for a band that hasn't...
Well, this guy's self-belief, I think this comes from his parental side of things as well. His parents, like your parents, had total belief in him to do things.
Well, my mum did. My dad was a bit more... He gets it now.
Yeah.
Because my mum used to write little signs on the door, do not disturb Billy Joel at work. What the fuck's Billy Joel? And it was me noodling around on my auntie's piano.
That's tremendous, man, honestly.
Yeah,
to have that backup is tremendous.
Yeah, it definitely... Well, the thing is, to play a drum kit in the house, and I was playing with sticks, your mum's got to tolerate that. My dad used to do nights, so that was another tricky one as well.
Yeah.
But it was a novelty, and having said that, I quickly joined the band, so I'd shifted my drum kit into the rehearsal room.
Yeah. But you say that, I learned to play drums. It's not easy to play drums, you know?
No, but it's all right.
People think it is.
Someone like Paul showing you how to play them.
Yeah, well, don't tell him, but he's an exceptionally good drummer.
He's a very good drummer.
But whatever you do, don't tell him, because he'll get big-headed.
Yeah, exactly.
I go back to the band then. There was a time, and I would say this, and I have said this openly and wholeheartedly, we were a bunch of world-class musicians. You could have put us up against anyone.
Think, yeah, and I know it's not bragging or nothing.
No, it's not. It's the truth.
We were worth just as much as any other outfit out there. And honestly, because of what we could bring, you had this guy who he had hair like Michael Bolton, but he could play a guitar.
Yeah,
and do you know, here's the strange thing.
Yeah,
he's got even better.
Yeah,
after he was in bands, I find that staggering. He's like next level, crazy, blow your mind stuff. That would have shat all over what he was like in the 90s. And in the 90s, he was fantastic. James, still gigging now. I saw him in Swinging Arms.
Yeah.
About 2 months back, playing with a Beatle band.
Yeah.
And he's doing stuff with Paul with the Tom Petty.
Yeah, the Tom Petty stuff, yeah. Which is selling well, apparently. Yeah. And with Vinny, gig with Vinny Peculiar the other night, yeah.
I'll have to have a word with Vinny.
But there are people like that everywhere around here.
Yeah, he's a perennial musician. James, I don't think James has ever put his guitar down.
Yeah.
As far as I've known. You know, and this is the thing, and this is why I think, this is why I don't feel even qualified to be doing this, but I think it's a really important thing what you're doing now is talking about, it's not even grassroots, but about musicians who have eked a living. And continue to. I've never, drank at the fountain of the greats. I've done some great gigs and had some great opportunities and played to we played to 2,000 odd people at times.
We've done more than that, mate. We've actually done more than that.
Yeah. Some good...
Which instantly brings me to Des. Back to Des. You mentioned Des. Okay. We had a gig. Back in the day, people used to besmirch us. Oh, you're playing Butlins. Yes, we're playing Butlins. And we had
those rooms at Butlins, they hold.
We had this gig in Butlins, and I think it was Pwllheli. I'm not exactly sure. Can't remember really. And it was one of their nightclubs, and I don't know why, but we had Des Depping on keys for us.
I'm sure I've heard this tale from Mark.
We'd rehearse with him, and he's got it. And of course, brass stabs. There's a lot of it. You're playing, but there's no real brass. It's all on the keys. So there's lots of stuff you need. I
was going to say, I was telling Gabby about this. The first gig, and it was in Bognor Regis that I did, and we started off with that sweet soul music. And it was like, talk about, and I was fucking bottling it because I knew it was like, pause, 1, 2, 3, 4, ba 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 ba, and then you go ba 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 ba. Do you like it? So I'm doing that, and I went there. I'm doing it on the keyboard, and went ba 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 ba. He just went, do you like it? And Mark just looked at me and went,
got away with it.
Oh my God, the first notes I ever played, and I would shit myself because I'm so look. That was the first gig I'd done.
And there's lots of people in the audience.
And I was the first note. I'd rather just sneak in below radar and,
Yeah, but you have to open it,
technically Paul played first by clicking 4 times, but fucking hell.
That very case. You get to this gig, this room, which holds 6,000 people. It's a long room. On the way there, we're in the van, and we're still going over stuff in the van just to make sure, playing the guitar acoustically and make sure he's going what he knows, And it's one of those really nice gigs where you just turn up and they set your equipment up for you.
Yeah, they were. I must admit, they were good and they were professional. And he liked us because we weren't knobheads.
Arseholes, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
We said hello to everyone.
I wouldn't be like on the mic on can I have more of me wench, please, sir? And blah. We weren't just, you know.
We just went, no, that's cool, that's great. And they knew what they were doing, so let them do what they're doing.
Let them do what they were doing, yeah.
So we do that, we get up. Now, Des is thinking, oh, Butlins, blah, 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 blah. So we get to this gig. The stage lifts out the floor. Right, so you're 10 foot in the air.
Wow.
Okay? So you've kind of got a backstage area, but the front of the stage, in front of the Prossarge, is lifted out the floor, and it's maybe 20 foot by 15 foot across. Okay, so that's for little old me basically, because everyone else is on the behind the Prossarge.
Yeah.
The tabs are in, but the lights fly in. So you've got 600,000 watts. I'm not joking. 600,000 watts of lights, because it's got to hit this nightclub. It's got to hit the back of this 200-foot room. So this thing is huge. Sound is fantastic. I bring my own mic stand, because my mic stand I like, but I'm using all their gear. Other than that, so the tabs fly out. Darkness, lights up. Ba 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 da ba da ba da ba da. Well, lights up. Des sees 6,000, at a minimum 6,000 people looking at him. Because it's lit. The auditorium's lit. It's not dark, because there's lights flying everywhere. They want people to dance. And he goes, bing, ping, ping.
He's done me. I'm telling you, it's the case. It's the case, the big crowd.
So Mark then plays dang, 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 on the guitar over the top of it. So
he was always great for that. He was dead instinctive, Mark.
So we go into it and we do the gig, and Des is just going plinkety plonkety for the whole night, plinkety plonkety plink, and you're thinking this is a professional gig. And this is the thing that you don't remember.
You do have to kind of get over that kind of thing. I think. I mean, I'm talking. Mine was, I did have nerves. I think once I got over that, once I made that mistake and realised that the reaction that I got from the band was one of laughter rather than,
what are you doing?
Rather than scowling. Because I think that was always one of the good things, even from Paul's point of view. And I know Paul wanted things meticulously professional, as we all do.
Yeah.
But he'd kind of be probably a bit more vocal about it. Even he laugh at stuff.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So we could all do that, and I always carried that from any band that I went in and said, "Who's Mark telling me?" As well, it was that kind of goldfish mentality. Not shitting on the crowd in any way, but just by saying, don't get worked up about any time that you might just fluff a note. Which I don't think anyone, unless you're someone.
No, everyone's done.
Everyone fluffs a note.
Everyone's done it.
I mean, that was probably the worst mistake I've ever made live.
Yeah.
Because it was notable and it was just me on my toes. I'll make the odd one, as you do. But it's well hidden. And having that thing, and it's like we were talking about earlier about being with the right kind of people.
Yeah.
If you're in a band where all your mates are with you, then no one's gonna let anyone fall.
Down. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We all pick each other up, and that is the kind of thing of like, if somebody makes a bum note, you don't just suddenly turn at them and think, that's amateur hour. That
yes, it is.
You're never going to get that in a professional.
No.
Because there are times I don't think we made very many mistakes at all.
Most people wouldn't recognise it.
You end up doing it on autopilot to a certain way, which is why you have a great laugh doing it.
Yeah.
But there's always that possibility, and I think if you have the right kind of attitude towards performing, to realise that it's don't sweat it that much. The person probably won't remember the mistake.
Yeah.
Because no one goes there. This is the one thing, and I always remember there was an interview years ago with Sheryl Crow, and she made this point, and I thought, fucking right that. People who go to see bands want them to be good.
Yes.
So you've got that on your side.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, sometimes you might have a hostile, like if you do a pub gig, sometimes you might have crowds who might be like,
pissed and knobheads.
Yeah. Who were like, well, what can you do? Fucking show, you know, blah, blah. Now, luckily for the likes of us, we never really done many pub gigs at all. PJ Clark's or something in town. And do you ever remember that time when the two girls were fighting in PJ Clark's?
Oh, God, man, I can't remember.
Oh, it was one of the best nights of my life. The tops came off and everything. Do you remember that? His tits ringing all over the shop. Oh, it was fantastic. I was single at the time. I wasn't actually, but... Yeah,
in your head you were.
In my head I was like... And they were totally oblivious. There was like a bra strap hanging around with snot coming out of their noses. I don't know what they were fighting over, but I wasn't complaining.
There's plenty... Sometimes there are times... Because I'm fronting it.
Yeah.
There's times when I can't...
You can't even...
I can't go there.
Yeah, exactly, because I can afford to be a spectator sometimes. I mean, obviously, being the keyboard player when I was in the 60s, it was weird because it was almost like I'd have to play two instruments at a time, because there'd be like a Hammond part and then there'd be brass stabs.
Yeah.
So you'd have to learn several different parts, and it was quite difficult. But... it was great. It really kept me on my game.
Yeah.
I think that was where I really kind of my playing or my musicality took off.
Yeah. You have to play in a professional environment for you.
Yeah.
You have to play with people who are better than you are.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely.
Because you get better.
Yeah. Jim on the bass. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Paul, you singing, being a front man, getting the crowd, you know what I mean? You could hit all the notes that people can't, and you get a crowd along with you. Mark is just unbelievable guitarist, and you know, so it was like the whole band were superb.
Yeah.
Polished as polished can be.
Partly, I'm dyspraxic, okay, which means counting and working memory is a bit to cock and balance and shit like that. So you see that guitar over there?
Yeah.
I got that guitar when I was 26. I'm no longer 26. What I do is I learn 3 or 4 chords on it every couple of years, and I put it down, and then I can't remember those chords. And if I were to learn an instrument, I'd have to constantly do it. Otherwise, I have to relearn stuff. Now, I've been very, very fortunate in that the musicians I've been surrounded with when I've been in a musical environment have been so good. There's absolutely no point in me learning to. I would not be as good as they are, but none of them could sing as well as me.
Well, I was going to say nobody could do that, and it's not just the singing as well, Matt. It really, you know, to be able to elevate. Or to be able to go around a certain circuit, you've got to be able to have, you've got to be personable. You've got to also have a thick enough skin that you can take that initial tension off people and dismiss it, knowing that you're going to be my best mate by the end of this.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which happened every single time. I used to say, I've told my kids this about being able to turn a crowd around, or, you know, not that they were overtly hostile, but you thought, you're quiet days, aren't they?
Hard work, yeah.
It's like, I don't know, you like you're mining for truffles, you were just dragging it out, you know what I mean?
Well, there's no such thing as a bad audience, you see. People go, oh, it's a terrible audience. No, you weren't giving them what they wanted. Doesn't mean to say you're bad. You were not giving them what they wanted.
That must, from your point of view, that must have took on some gigs. Like, I know, say we done Air, they were up for it every single time.
Yeah.
They were good to go. Didn't even have to warm them up. In fact, I remember one of the most unbelievable things a band, in my opinion, has ever done. Remember the power cut?
I do remember the power cut.
And we were doing Reach Out. And the power went at a certain point. And it was like anything like a king, oh darling, reach out, like that, and it just fucking went. So we had to go up, and then they changed it, and we got back on about 20 minutes later. I remember we decided to start the song exactly at the point where the power went out, and done it. So it was like 1, 2, 3, 4, reach out, and I was like, that was genius.
Now that you mention it, yes, I do remember that, and that's a quality. That's the point of the quality of the performance.
Yeah.
You should be able to, if you're that slick and you're that good, you should be able to pick it up.
Yeah.
And James used to get really annoyed at me because I used to turn around at the head of every gig and say,
but he used to.
Professionalism. You have to be professional. Be the most professional you can be.
Yeah, but he did lick soap for £1. Do you remember that? We got him to lick the soap and changes for £1. And he did.
Yeah, but he's had his gallbladder out since, so I believe.
Probably, yeah. And he's probably still got that pube stuck in the back of
He
his throat.
probably has, yes.
None of ours.
No, the one that's put in from the factory. Yes.
I think it was the Crankies who played. I think it was Jack Cranky. And a wee scrub.
Speaking of cocking up on stage, I was on stage years ago with, God bless her, she's passed on now, an honorary Scouser, Louise Plowright. If you don't know the name, Google her. Yeah. She used to say, she had some friends who lived in Toxteth, and she'd say, I'd go there when we met. What a great girl.
She an actress?
Yeah. Big time. West End musicals, big time.
Imagine you saying that. There's a Jane Plowright, isn't he? There's some more Plowrights.
There's lots of Plowrights.
There's a couple of Plowrights, yeah.
She her sister's this big time opera singer, and Lou would say her friends' daughters. So Lou's like 6'2", giant curly hair, Amazonian build, great laugh. And she, at one point, she was the area manager for Freeman, Hardy and Willis, and used to work out at Church Street in Liverpool. Okay, so she was 28 before she went to drama school.
Freeman, Hardy, Willis. Jesus.
Yeah, so we used to reminisce about stuff like that. Anyway,
used to have one on County Road, by the way, Freeman,
Hardy Willis. Well, she would have been the area manager. She used to say, my friend, a friend saw, she, you look like a giant Barbie doll. Because she was big curly hair. She was tall, beautiful, beautiful woman. Anyhow, she dried one night. Nothing. And it just... So she just had to make shit up. Because the band's playing. All right, it's a Les Mis story. So she's playing Madame Thénardier, and it's the big scene. It's her big scene, and she forgot what she was singing. It's the words just went. So she just made shit up for like 30 seconds, which might not seem like a long time, but when there's a 24-piece orchestra doing that, it's a...
Get him! He stole a loaf of bread!
It's really, really... So she was making shit up. Well, we were pissing ourselves laughing. And she's sitting there about this distance from me. She's facing the audience, and I'm there. And she just turned at me and went, and there you are. And that was the last I remember her singing it. There you are. So we just fell about laughing, hysterical. Brilliant. She got it and just carried on it, and you've got to, but no one.
But you know,
we were all there.
Wouldn't have even known.
They wouldn't have it.
Unless you were like a bespectacled,
there was plenty who knew the lyrics and knew she'd cocked up, but it didn't matter. You know, the support was there, and we all just got on with it and enjoyed it. It was.
I think that's the one thing that's the biggest appeal to me about being a musician or being a performer. It's not just the performer. It's not even an ego thing. It's just something that it's no ego. There's no glamour. So it doesn't go fucking straight out of it.
You think
any of those kids? There's no glamour. It's
the
round.
least glamorous business in the world.
It's the back of a van that smells like arseholes and bad feet.
Yeah, if you're lucky.
And then this like 1.5 hours of pure bliss where you're like, this is... Yeah.
I did an advert in March. I won't, in case I get into trouble, I won't say, but they paid a lot of money. Thanks very much. I was outside in the cold, and I mean outside in the cold, for 12 hours. There's a part of the scene where we're all dancing. They let off this confetti cannon, and the reason they let the confetti cannon off is because it's snowing and they need to hide the snow. It's meant to be a May bank holiday outdoor thing. That's how cold it was. That's as glamorous as it gets. Do you know what I mean? Even when it's good.
Yeah.
And I absolutely adore you. Give me the lights, you give me a camera, and oh man.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
Yeah, because you know what you're doing as well. You're at home. You kind of just it's. I know they're saying it, you're born to do it, whatever. But it's like it is home.
Yeah.
Being in a band for me is where I feel really comfortable. Don't get me wrong. I like singing my own stuff and whatever, but for me, it's kind of I'm more reluctant to do that kind of thing. I would probably rather be in a band and contribute in another way, by being kind of part of the furniture,
part of it,
and part of it. Just having that camaraderie, being in the back of a van with your mates and knowing you're on the way to a new place, or you're discovering something new, and you just, even the tedium of the hours, if you're with people who you get on with and have a laugh, it just makes it really worthwhile. It's just, that has been the best experiences I've ever had of being on the road.
In those situations.
Yeah.
All right, so final question, because we can go on for days talking nonsense.
I know, we'll probably have, haven't we?
What have the Beatles ever done for us?
They made the fucking roads in Liverpool the most chaotic boom in the road ever. Now, what they've done, I think what they've done is I'm not saying they rewrote the wheel, but they were songwriters, self-taught songwriters, who, initially there might have been one or two songs written by other people, like Baby It's You by Burt Bacharach, and they've done like Roll Over Beethoven and things like that. But they rewrote the formula to make other bands realise that we can write our own stuff. We don't have to be the kind of relying on the Tin Pan Alley types and So the do-it-yourself aspect, for me, has been one of their biggest takeaways from their career, as well as their exceptional span from doing, I love you, you love me, let's get together and baby makes three, to Across the Universe in the space of like 8 years.
Yeah.
Who evolves that much?
Yeah.
I've never known a band to evolve that much. Yeah. There's no one. Bands have had great careers and long careers. Like U2 are probably not the same band as they were 40 odd years ago.
Yeah.
But within the space of 8 years, they probably still sounded similar to what they did.
Oh, yeah.
The Beatles came from one sound to... Now, I get it, there was a cultural kind of evolution at the time.
Were they not part of the cultural evolution?
And they were part of the cultural
evolution. Were they not part of the reason for that?
I think they probably did drive it, and I think there was other influences like other bands across the pond that they're not looking over the shoulder, because they probably were, to be honest, and they're probably thinking, right, they're doing that, wait till I hear what we're doing now. I think the Beatles gave music an understanding that anything can be possible. Forget the financial rule the world aspect of it, but you can go from an album like Rubber Soul to, within a couple of years, something like Revolver and then Sergeant Pepper, and you're like,
how do you do that?
How do you do that? What makes you... Obviously, there's a team and that, but as a collective, I'm thinking their imagination, their drive to let's make our own rules. I think that's... And if you're an artist, just pay attention to that. Do what you think is best. Don't follow anything, because you're going to be second guessing what... You know, if you want to be a hit maker, then you're just going to have to be lucky and make what you authentically do be a hit. Because if you're thinking, oh, that will be a hit, you're constantly a year behind anyway. You know, so, yeah, just go by your own instincts and don't shit in the dressing room sink. Never works out well.
Well done, Wishy. Nice one, mate.
Aye. That's lovely, that.
Now, I need a pee. I better switch this off as well.